Welcome back, players. I'm Colton with the Clock Tower, and I don't have any pets to speak of. The fall season is coming up, and many of you are preparing to compete at regionals. Today, we'll be talking about how to get ready for your regional event. We'll talk about how to register, what to bring, and what to expect at your event so you can have the best experience possible. So, without further ado, let's start the video. Jack, I am so sorry. Part 1, how to sign up on BushiNavi. So if you click the link in the description, you'll go to this BushiNavi event search page. You will need a BushiNavi account, so if you haven't made one of those yet, you need to do that first. Make sure Weiss Schwarz English Edition is checked, official event, and then you can click search. Once you click search, continue to scroll. You will see the regionals level events that you might want to participate in. Click apply to participate. It'll bring up this page. You'll click this button and then click apply to participate. I'm not going to click it because I'm not going to this event, but after you apply to participate in an event, you will need your Decklog. If you've made your deck in Decklog already, you can choose it after you've completed your application to participate. If you haven't, let's open Decklog in a new tab. When you click on Decklog, you will need to choose your game, which in this case is Weiss Schwarz English. Click Deck Creation. Neo Standard. Choose a title in the drop-down list. So after you've done that, you'll be taken to this page where you can see a list of every card that's legal to play in your set. You can scroll through this list manually if you like, or you can use the keyword search options over here to search by name, card type, level, etc. When you find a card that is going to go in your list, you click it, and then keep clicking until you have the correct number of cards of that type in your deck. You can see the number of cards in your main deck up here, and then when you're done, you can click Confirm Deck, just to make sure that you have the correct rarities on the cards that you're clicking. You'll notice this is a power-up set rarity, this is an SR. Those are different. You will need to make sure that you have the correct rarities. Sometimes judges won't call you out on it, but if you make top 8, you want to make sure that you have all of your T's dotted and I's crossed. Make sure you have your rarities perfect on your deck log. So I'm going to finish this out real quick, and then we'll go to the next screen. Once you click Confirm Deck, you'll be taken to this screen where you can see every card in your list. Make sure that they are all correct. You can also type in a deck name at this spot. It doesn't really matter what you name it, just name it whatever you want, and then click the Create button, and you will have a created deck with a deck code that you can then copy. Also, when you're registering for an event, when you're taken to your deck selection page, can choose a deck that you have already created in Decklog as your deck for that event. So once that's done, congratulations, you are now registered for your event. Let's talk about what you actually need on the day of. Part 2, your deck. You know the rules, 50 cards, 8 climaxes, all from one title and following any ban list. Make sure that every card in your deck is properly represented in your deck log, including its rarity. There are some judges that might let rarity slide, but some of them won't. Don't leave it up to chance. Make sure that all of your cards match your deck log down to the rarity. I have been on a team that got disqualified because one of my teammates had a deck log that was incorrect. He had a card in his deck that was not in his deck log, and that caused our entire team to be disqualified after we reached top 8. Don't do that. It feels awful. Be ready. Make sure that your deck is exactly as it is in your deck log. You have 2 options when it comes to sleeving. Option 1 is an official Bushiroad sleeve, like this one. It'll have the name Bushiroad on the bottom of the sleeve somewhere, usually. Not every character that's been licensed by Bushiroad in the past is an official Bushiroad sleeve, so make sure that it is a sleeve that is made by Bushiroad. Your second option is to use your standard matte back, opaque, dark colored Dragon Shield, BCW, or Ultra Pro sleeves of your choosing. Those are all fine as long as the wear pattern is consistent. Ideally, you want something that's new-ish, maybe not fresh out of the box because those can slide around to be super annoying, but you don't want them to be very old because they don't like sleeves that have a lot of wear on them, and for good reason. But make sure that the backs are opaque, completely unmarked. You can't see through them at all. If you are going to run character sleeves, make sure they are over-sleeved. It's a good way to protect the sleeve, as well as make it a lot easier if you have a split sleeve in competition, because then you can just replace the over sleeve as opposed to the actual sleeve itself. I also highly recommend going first, going second cards. You have to determine who goes first and goes second somehow. These are the easiest way to do it. There are other ways to do it, but there is a template that I made so that you can make your own. I'll put that link in the description. But you don't need to have official cards for going first, going second. You can. They do exist. But you should have some kind of going first, going second card with your deck at your event, just so you can determine quickly and without wasting time who is going first. Part 3, what other card game stuff should you have? One of the most important other things in your bag is going to be your mat. You should have a mat with you. You don't necessarily need one because you could play on the hard plastic mats that they put on all the tables, but I highly recommend a mat. It's a much more pleasant playing experience. Bushiroad has officially licensed mats, much like the sleeves. You should bring one if you have one. If you don't, you can bring basically any mat, but when you get to top 8, they will probably not let you use that mat. Bushiroad is very conscious of its IP, and they want you to use Bushiroad official stuff when you get to the top levels of their tournaments. They are more strict about sleeves than they are about playmats, but still, you should have one of these on you if you want to play with a mat, just in case. Last time we went to top 8, we actually had to play on the hard plastic sheets that they put on the tables. It's like playing on a placemat. It's frankly not very comfortable, but that's what they had us do, even if we had official mats with us. If you went to Springfest last year, you will have one of these because they handed these to everyone. These are great. They have the Bushiroad name on them. You can absolutely take these, and they're also pretty nice mats, all things considered. Other card game stuff you should absolutely have with you. A set of backup sleeves of some variety. Ultra Pro, BCW, Dragon Shield, it doesn't matter. But if they don't like your sleeves and you're going into top 8, they absolutely can make you re-sleeve. So bring something that will allow you to change all of your sleeves very easily. I recommend brand new sleeves for this, just so they know that you are opening a brand new package. You can buy them there, but I wouldn't want to leave anything up to chance. Make sure you bring a pack of sleeves that you like, something maybe you've used before that you can sleeve up quickly if you need to in top 8. The other thing to make sure you bring, backup sleeves. A sleeve is going to split on you at some point. Make sure you have backup sleeves that are of a similar wear pattern to the ones that are currently in your deck, so that if it happens to you during a round, you can quickly change a sleeve and move on without having to re-sleeve your whole deck in the middle of the round. That would be a massive pain. Don't do that. Make sure you have backup sleeves on you. And finally, I would also recommend you just bring another deck. Bring an extra deck so that you can go play Free Fight with something other than the deck that you went 0-2 with that tilted you. Free Fight is worth it. It's fun. You might as well if you're going to be there anyway, especially if you went with other people. Bring another deck or 2 or 3 so that you have something else to do if you happen to crash out. Part 4, other things you'll need. You'll want to have your wallet, you'll want to check out the vendors, and you might want to buy something. Also, sometimes there are food and snacks available that you may want to partake in. Make sure you have your wallet. Bring your phone cord. You already knew this. You were going to probably bring one anyway, but what I also recommend is that you bring a power bank. These are going to make your life so much easier. You're not going to be crowded around a handful of plugs that are available, trying to get an extra 2% between rounds. You need to use your phone as your way to report rounds. So you are going to need access to your phone. Make sure you bring something that will allow you to have a fully charged device when you go to a regional. Other than that, it's mostly just stuff that has to do with you being in a crowded room all day. Make sure you have a water bottle. Make sure you bring lunch or some snacks or something. You're going to get hungry, and food at these venues can be very expensive. I would not recommend buying the $15, $20 lunch in the hotel lobby when you can just pack a couple of sandwiches overnight instead. If you need any medication or you want to have access to pain pills, you should bring those. And also, for the love of all things good and decent, wear deodorant, wear it beforehand, apply it between rounds. I have sat across from human biohazards before. It is not a pleasant experience, and I have come so close to calling a judge at least one time. Just, you're an adult. Wear deodorant. You can do it. I promise. Real quick, though, while we're on the topic, I should talk about what you should not bring. I am a strong adherent to the one-bag rule. Everything should fit in one bag that you can either hang over a chair or put under your chair during your rounds. Don't bring multiple bags. It's a pain. You have to remember where all of your things are. But if it doesn't fit in this bag, it shouldn't go with you. So you have limited space. That space is kind of precious. Don't bring a whole bunch of things. You have to lug this bag around all day. Don't bring a whole bunch of extra things. That means you shouldn't bring your laptop. You don't need to bring, like, your Nintendo Switch. You're not going to have time to use it unless you show up, 3 hours beforehand. You don't need to do that. Just leave the consoles and the computers at home. I also recommend that you don't bring like large plushes and things of that nature. They are fun. I'm not gonna lie, it's very cool when you see someone have a little trinket or a stuffed animal that goes along with the deck that they're playing, but they can take up valuable table real estate, and they're kind of annoying in that case. There's limited room at these venues on these tables, so make sure that you are respecting your opponents and not bringing something that's going to take up a whole bunch of room. If you got something little that'll like go in a little corner of your mat or whatever, that's probably fine. But like a big old stuffed animal that's larger than like your hand is probably too big, unless you're going to keep it in your bag. So just think about your opponents. Try not to take up a whole bunch of space. It can be obnoxious when you have a bunch of people crowded onto a single table, and then you've got a guy who's just got his, big old stuffed animal right here that's just taking up way too much room, and everyone's kind of having to maneuver around it. Don't be that guy. Just respect other people's space, and don't bring anything that's going to be super huge. All right, so let's talk about all the stuff that's going to happen on tournament day. You're going to show up beforehand. Usually registration ends at like 9 or 10 local time. It'll open usually at about 8 a.m. I recommend getting there as early as possible. Like if you get there when the doors open at 8, that's great. Registration is basically entirely done on your phone now. So you're going to go through the line. You're going to get to the front of the line at the table. You're going to show them your phone. You're going to tap a couple of buttons, and they're going to walk you through the process. You'll be registered and ready to go. Then once you're in the venue, you have time to check out the vendors and get a couple of rounds in. I really like getting a couple of games in with my deck before the event starts. It's a good way to get warmed up and get kind of into Weiss brain going into what's going to be a long day. That is my biggest recommendation. You will get instructions from above. They will have the head judge mic'd up, and he will tell you what you need to do. Beforehand, he'll go over all the floor rules after the first pairings have been announced. You will get your pairings in the BushiNavi app. You can scroll right to where you are. You can click buttons that will tell you where exactly to go. You can follow the standings in the app. The app is pretty decent on tournament day from the player side. I can't speak for it on the administrative side, but on the player side, the app's pretty decent. It keeps track of everything that you need. I've never had any real issues with it on tournament day, and they keep that updated. It's a whole lot better than trying to, crane your neck through 1,000 other players trying to read a paper printout. It's a whole lot nicer to just be able to refresh a page. But follow the instructions in the app. Follow whatever instructions come from above, and you'll be just fine. If you have an issue during gameplay, you can call a judge by raising your hand. Typically, if it's a very easy thing to resolve that doesn't require a judge, you probably don't have to call the judge. If something very small that doesn't affect game state happens, you can fix that yourselves between you and your opponent. If it requires a change in game state, or if it's a reveal of information that's not supposed to be revealed, or other major infraction, raise your hand. Make sure you get the judge over there for that. But if it's a simple thing that doesn't affect game state, you don't need to bother the judges with that. You only want to bother the judges with stuff that actually matters. And then finally, as the day goes on, eventually you're either going to go top 8 or you're going to drop out. If you drop out, you can go play in free fight. You will need to go and get a slip from the free fight table once that opens, usually at the end of round 4. You'll go find another person, play a game with them. You'll both sign the other person's sheet when the game is over. You have to go back up to the table. It has to be signed off by the person running free fight, and then you have to go back and find a new opponent. If you came with friends, it makes it a lot easier. It's also not hard to find other people who want to play, but that's why you're bringing extra decks so you can go play free fight in case you do crash out. If you get to top 8, you're going to go through deck check. Deck check is probably the longest and most frustrating part of the process for the whole tournament day. If you get there, you're going to be cordoned off into a small section of the room. A judge is going to come over and check your deck. You're going to lay it out for them, adjust how it is in your deck log. They're going to go through it one card at a time. And if you have any issues with sleeves, they're going to ask you to change your sleeves right there. If you have issues with your deck and how it doesn't match your deck log, that's where you would get disqualified right from there. So make sure, again, that your deck log matches your deck. This is literally the most important thing. If you take nothing else away from the video, your deck log needs to match your deck. It's very, very important. But once you're through, it's just as you think it is. It's a simple single elimination round of 8. If you win, you keep going. If you lose, you go home. And that is pretty much what an event day looks like. So this is obviously not a comprehensive video. I have only been to American events that had, 150 to 200 plus players. So I've never really been to the smaller events. I've never been to the European, South American, Asian events. If you have a different experience based on the regionals that you play at, or if there's something that I forgot, by all means, put it in the comments. I want this to be a resource that people can use to better their tournament experiences, after this season and going on. I want this to be a useful resource for them. So if you have something that you think is very helpful on tournament days, by all means, include that in the comments. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back on Tuesday with another Clock Talk as we talk about the very first event of the season, and then more videos on Tuesdays and Thursdays going forward. Until next time, thank you so much for joining us. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe, and have a good one. Peace.